Okay, show of hands. Who's still alive? Good.
Hi there, my name is Capitato, the Caffeinated Potato, and I survived my second year of Artfight. Now, if you clicked on this video, chances are you know what Artfight is, but because I hate gatekeeping and don't want to assume everyone knows what I'm talking about, here's a quick rundown. Artfight is an annual online community event that lasts all of July, and is essentially an art trading game, framed as a battle between two themed teams. Participants post their original characters onto the site, and then when the event starts, they attack each other by drawing other people's OCs, scoring points for the team. They can also choose to do revenge attacks, drawing a character belonging to the person who just attacked them. Attacks can also include characters from multiple people, referred to as mass attacks. And some mass attacks can include up to 100 different characters. Attacks don't just have to target people from the other team. It's possible to attack people on the same team as you, which is called friendly fire. Friendly fire attacks give less points than regular attacks. In previous years, it was something like 15 or 20% of the total points. But this year they buffed it up to 75%, which was nice. This year's theme was crystals versus fossils. And if you're wondering which team I was on, this is one of the main characters of the webcomic I'm developing. Need I say more? This year, I had a simple goal. Do better than I did last year. Which really meant two things. 1, draw more than 5 attacks. And 2, don't burn out by day 9. Before we jump into it, the way this video will be structured is by recapping the event day by day. Where I'll not only be showing the speed paints of the attacks that I did, but also show off the attacks I received, because I want to really show my appreciation for all the people who took time to draw my children. Without further ado, let's jump into it with... I jumped right into making my first attack the second the countdown till start time hit 0, and not a second earlier. I decided that my first attack this year should be this really cute couple belonging to user Ashbond Kitty. Note that all users mentioned here in this video will be linked in the description. This was Ashbond Kitty's first art fight, so I wanted to make sure to give her a warm welcome. Most of her characters are for an anthro crime drama webcomic she's working on. Hello, fellow aspiring comic creator. And the characters that really caught my eye were the main characters of this comic. They are a super adorable T4T couple with a trans femme cat named Yuna and a trans masked dog named Rex. Yuna is neurodivergent with both ASD and ADHD, and has a special interest in botany and plant life. However, her father was both abusive and transphobic, so she didn't end up transitioning until she started college. When her father discovered her transitioning, he kicked her out and took away her tuition, leaving her stranded and with no support. She eventually met Rex on a bench, which is where the comic is planned to start. Rex, meanwhile, was raised with more supportive parents. Not perfect, but they did their best, and let him start transitioning from a much younger age. However, the small family ended up living on the streets after getting evicted, and Rex's parents were killed by criminals soon after. He managed to survive on the streets alone for a while, before meeting a friend who had become his boyfriend/ex-boyfriend, who had convinced Rex to join a crime family. Over the next decade, Rex assimilated into crime life, began dating that friend, broke up with him, and recently started to question whether the violent crime life was really for him. While on a walk to clear his head, he met Yuna on a bench, and yada yada. I wanted to draw these two, not just because they were cute, although yes, that was a factor, but also because I wanted more practice with drawing anthro characters. Frost often gives me trouble when I'm drawing him, so I thought this would be a good exercise. I may have ended up channeling a little bit of Frost into how I drew Yuna too. He'll just never leave me alone. If you've seen some of my other videos, which first of all, thank you, you may notice that this isn't my usual level of finish. I knew I'd want to draw a ton of attacks, so cutting a few corners, like skipping the finish line at stage, was necessary to make sure I could meet my goal of not burning out by day 9. So this level of roughness should be expected from the remainder of most of the attacks in this video. As soon as that first attack was done, I moved right along to my second attack. I'll be honest, this was mostly an excuse to do fan art for a creator I like. Bubs is a YouTuber who has gained pretty substantial audience very quickly when the YouTube algorithm gods blessed them with views. She was the inspiration for me to start my own channel, as she made me think, oh hey, could I actually do that too? Of course, I haven't gone quite so lucky because the algorithm is typical like that, and also probably because I can't post as often. But Bubs also has a webcomic called Golden Ghost, which I try to keep up with. That's where these two characters, Molly and Bean, came from, by the way. They aren't the main characters, but or rather the parental figures to the main character. I was originally going to just draw Molly because I wanted to practice drawing black people more. Specifically, I wanted to study how other artists use color when rendering black skin. Because as a fledgling artist, I got scared away from using rich, bright colors in favor of softer pastels. And it's only been fairly recently that I've been able to convince myself that brightly saturated colors won't bite. But while I've gotten better at incorporating brighter shades into the clothes of my characters, I still subconsciously default to keeping the skin tones on the more desaturated side. So, with this Artfight, I challenged myself to color pick the skin tones directly from the references I use, and use them as is, without changing them too much. But I was struggling to find a way to make this drawing interesting, so I included Bean for a little bit of sapphic wholesomeness. I was just in a very shippy mood for the first day, I guess. Go check out Bub's channel. They love to hear themselves talk, and so do I. Also, check out Golden Ghost. It's super charming. On to attack 3. That's right, I cranked out 3 attacks in one day, which I very quickly learned is not sustainable and thus don't do it again. And it's more fan art, this time for Ginger Ninja, or actually Ray, a creator I have repeatedly mentioned being a huge fan of in several of my videos. Specifically, I drew Hokuto. Originally, I was going to draw Apollo, but I figured he'd be the most popular, and again, I wanted to draw more black characters. With this attack, I was specifically drawing from a thing June said in the Prism Reboot digital sketchbook video about how Hokuto is still blind but can still see light and dark, and in particular can see the absence, these evil entities that the heroes fight in Prism, as being darker than dark and absolutely terrifying. After 2 cute, fluffy ship attacks, I wanted to make darker and dramatic. And to be quite honest, I don't think I hit the mark with this one. The absence don't look scary. I could have pushed the chromatic aberration and overall contrast more. And there was one part in Hokuto's outfit where I forgot to fill it in and left it skin colored for a long ass time. I eventually noticed and fixed it, but it took way longer to even notice than it had any right to. I admit, I was rapidly running out of steam. I learned a valuable lesson with this attack. Trying to get 3 attacks done in one day is not a good idea. At least for me. Luckily, after day 1, I was able to find a more sustainable pace and really hit my stride. Still, I don't think it looks terrible, even if it pales in comparison to the image inside my head. But June is a popular creator who receives so many attacks, so who cares if mine is a little subpar. Not every drawing is going to come out looking right, they can't all be winners, and that's okay. I did receive 1 attack on day 1, and it was this one by Sabame. I am so sorry if I butchered your name, and for anyone else featured in this video whose names I will inevitably mispronounce. She drew this attack of my Sona, Tato, meaning her own potato bit to see the leap, which makes the 2nd year in a row where someone saw Tato and went, oh, I also have a potato character, I should draw them together. In fact, when looking through the attacks Tato has been included in, I noticed one mass attack I missed from last year. It was all potato or food related characters, and Sabame's character, the Leaf, was also included in them. Chances are that's not a coincidence and is in fact how Sabame found Tato, but I still find that funny. This attack was definitely amusing on multiple accounts, and I just generally found it very charming. The first attack on day 2 was me getting my revenge on Sabame. They are a self-proclaimed amateur artist, so I wanted to make sure that I gave them some love. I know last year there was some drama or something regarding newer artists and some people being all weird and gatekeepy about it, not wanting to receive attacks from quote-unquote bad artists. And that's just so shitty. I don't delve into the drama side of Artfight, which I suspect mostly comes from TikTok. That is just a toxic cesspool when it comes to the art community. So I wasn't too keyed in on the drama last year, and I don't know if similar drama happened this year either. I do know, however, that those people are just a very loud minority, and most people on Artfight are kind and understand that it is not that deep. We do this for fun, to share our love of OCs. This isn't just a way to get free art of your characters. Anyway, the character I decided to draw is Deloric Trisrona, an elven man and formerly a notorious ambassador, both hated and admired. He loved beautiful things, and that was his downfall, when that led him to cheat on his wife, father a bastard child, and eventually having the scandal come out and losing everything. He was exiled from the Elven realm and has been wandering ever since, seeking redemption and forgiveness. In the character ref, he is dressed in nice clothes, but in the permissions, Savamir specifically said, please change his outfit, this is just a placeholder. So I took that and ran with it, deciding that Dolorek probably wouldn't have such nice clothes anymore after losing everything, finding a bit of irony. His love of beauty would lead him to no longer having any beautiful things. It's always fun when you can call a character a pathetic, sopping wet cat of a man, and the creator of the said character wholeheartedly agrees with you. For the second attack of day 2, it was time to start attacking my friends. This is Albert, and he belongs to the Almighty Scroll, aka Scroll. And as I mentioned, Scroll is an online friend of mine. We met on a Discord server created by a Rise of the TMNT fanfiction writer / fan comic creator. A server that would later evolve into one large friend group / found family, which remains super active even as most of us have moved on to other hyperfixations. This server is referred to as the Jelly server, after the creator who made it, and you will hear me mention it again. Anyway, Albert is from a story of scrolls called Atlas Labs. The main character of importance in Atlas Labs, to my understanding, is a holographic AI called PCV3. Scroll is absolutely bonkers over PC, as is most of us in the Jelly server. But I've actually already drawn PC once before, for Scroll's birthday. So this time, I decided to draw Albert, who is also an important player in the Atlas Lab story, and actually befriends PC, which also comes with some practice drawing scars and facial differences. I am just obsessed with Scroll's art style, and if I'm being completely honest, half the motivation for drawing this was me trying to bait Scroll into avenging and drawing one of my characters in that delicious art style. For the record, I don't expect every person I attack to avenge attack back, and neither should you. The only reason I was specifically trying to bait an attack from Scroll is because we're friends. Scroll has seen my paragraphs of rambling about undying bonds, and like many in the Jelly server, is a fan of my characters. So that would give additional motivation for them to avenge attack. Didn't receive any attacks on day 2, which is fine, honestly. If you really want to enjoy Artfight, it's better to focus on the things you can control, and not the things you can't. You can't control people to give you attacks, but you can control yourself in creating attacks for other people. So that's what I focused on. The attacks I received were just a bonus. First thing, day 3, I went to attack another friend from the Jelly server. This time it was Addy Stuffs, aka Addy. I'm not as familiar with any specific stories they're cooking up. It's a fairly large server, so keeping up with everyone's projects is not easy. But this server has a smaller sister server where we do roleplays to be able to have our characters interact with each other. So I mostly know these characters, Crest and Vivian, from one of those roleplays. Originally, I was just going to do Crest, because I thought the wings and feather details would be fun to do. But I once again decided that drawing 2 characters was more interesting than one. So I drew him with his friend Vivian. Vivian is trans-femme and Crest is trans-masc, but still enjoys dressing femininely. And in Addy's submission, he specifically said that he'd absolutely love seeing his characters in pretty dresses, so that gave me a light bulb moment. I just went ahead and did one of my favorite activities, drawing characters in my own clothes. That's right, the clothes Crest and Vivian are wearing here are at least loosely inspired by clothes I own, or have owned at one point. The dress Crest is wearing is supposed to be floral, I just got lazy, and I haven't seen the long sweater thing Vivian is wearing in years, but damn did I love that thing. Also, Addy is absolutely insane. Over the course of the month, she went absolutely ham on attacks. Like a fucking machine gun, they made a total of 50 attacks this year. Maybe isn't that much in the grand scheme of things, I know people have done more, but for our friend group, that's a lot. They started off strong, pumping out anywhere from 3 to 4 attacks per day, but eventually tapering out into a more slow pace. Like, yeah, I get it, Addy's style is more simple, which probably lends itself to faster drawing, but still, damn. Maybe I was trying to go to avenge it out of Addy as well. Second attack of day 3 was more fan art. This time for Stormith, another YouTuber I like. I specifically found them through their character voice claims videos, and I still want to do a voice claim video for my own characters. But oh, it is so difficult to find ones that fit. Anyway, The character I drew is Tal, from Storm's story Chosen One's Academy. Specifically, Tal is the chosen one from a sci-fi world. Not gonna lie, I don't have much to say about this attack. I mostly chose Tal because I like their design, and I wanted to allude to the sci-fi origins of them by having them look at the stars, which meant dabbling in a bit of background details. I found that having rays of light is actually super fun to render, so that's neat. But yeah, that's Tal. On day 3, I received 2 attacks, both from friends. The first attack was from Bluesky, aka Blue. Blue drew this attack of Oriana, and just, their art is so shaped, and the use of colors are just amazing. I particularly love how they drew the feathers here. Something about them just scratches the brain just right, and I can't explain why. The second attack I received was a revenge from Scroll. They drew Frost, and do you see what I mean when I say their art is delicious? Look at this shit. Look at the rendering, the colors. Very tasty, I want to eat it. Day 4 was, well, nothing happened, really. I didn't make any attacks on day 4 because I was specifically taking a break. Not because it was a holiday, I couldn't care less about that. I haven't been feeling very patriotic lately, so I didn't feel like celebrating. But specifically because it was Friday, and I decided that Fridays would be my day off, in order to give my hand a rest and to prevent burnout by not allowing myself to draw, which just made me want to draw more, therefore would ensure that I'd be able to maintain excitement and hype. That was the theory, anyway. On day 5, I started with another attack for a friend. This time, it wasn't a friend from the Jelly server, but instead a childhood friend I've known for over a decade now, probably. This attack was for Cryptic Boy, featuring 2 of their characters, Nate and Mark Wakes. Admittedly, I know very little about these characters. From the fact that they look so similar, all the same age, and share a last name, I can only assume they're twins or something. And there wasn't much in terms of lore in their profile descriptions, aside from the fact that they are both described as fairies. I don't get to spend a lot of time with this friend often, so when we do, it's mostly catching up on life and stuff. But these 2 are cute, so I did them here. I'm interested in learning more about them though. Later in day 5, I got my revenge on Blue. Now, I will admit, this attack was very self-indulgent. I'd never drawn an attack with such a strong emphasis on my own characters if it was for a stranger, but, well, Blue is a massive fan of Undying Bonds, just as I am a massive fan of their story concept, This Life We Call Home. And remember that roleplay server I mentioned earlier? Yeah, Blue is also a part of that server, and one of the more active participants in it, always so eager for people to do their turns. We often put our characters in situations together to see how they'd react and how they'd interact with each other. Our character casts have numerous similarities with each other, so it's fun to see how they play off one another. We basically play with our blowbos like dolls, so I went ahead and created a very literal representation of that. Also, I am a very ravenous shipper. I love romantic subplots when they are written well, when they are written to make sense and be compelling, and that's a lot of why I want to include a romantic subplot within my own story. Sometimes I joke that Raymond and Nestor are both dumbasses and should realize that they both like each other and just kiss already. Why are you guys like this, I'd say, as if I'm not the one who created them and knows damn well why they are like that. Blue isn't as into shipping as I am, and that's fine. We're both free to enjoy what we each like, and we understand that, and respect it. Blue can even get behind the Rayness ship. But sometimes, it's funny to imagine Blue just looking at me like, why are you like this? Not that I actually feel like Blue is judging me or anything. I just find our different priorities in storytelling interesting and kinda funny sometimes. Also, I don't know how many of my friends from the Jelly Server actually watch my videos regularly, but I know Blue does. Hi Blue! Love you Blubbos. I'd talk about them more here, but well, here's the thing. There are 4 characters here, each with their own lore. That's a lot of rambling to condense into a couple minutes. So, hold on, put a pin in that. Because 2 hours and 40 minutes after I posted this attack, Blue retaliated with the revenge. Now, granted, I had sent the art to the Jelly Server maybe about an hour or 2 before submitting it to Artfight, since it'd take a while for it to be glazed. But still, and just look at this. Look at how nice this looks. As a reminder, this is a revenge attack for something that was already a revenge. This could only mean one thing. This was a declaration of war. I started day 6 by drawing this character named Dominic, belonging to Haas. I actually found her Haas when they attacked Blue, and just thought the art was just so juicy. I thought Dominic would be particularly fun to draw. The 4 arms would be a fun challenge, and I always loved drawing floof. Plus, the detail of Dominic being a bartender gave me an idea for what to do. After all, 4 arms must be pretty handy, pun not intended, when doing barkeepy things, right? Also, I just love his face. Dude is just always smiling. Again, this was a fun break out of my comfort zone. I'm so used to drawing humans, or at least mostly human-looking characters, so to draw something so creature was fun. Really happy with how this one came out, to be honest. That was the only attack they completed on day 6, and I didn't receive any either, so it's on to... On day 7, I put the warp paint on. It was time to draw my second revenge on Blue. This time, I focused on a pairing of our characters. Focused on my character Oriana and Blue's Ryuki. Ryuki is a shapeshifter and has several different forms: humanoid, aquatic, bug, and the one focused on here, avian. Shapeshifters in Blue's world are generally considered a minority group, and part of the story involves Ryuki connecting with this part of their heritage and culture. But of course, Ryuki is the only character who can grow wings, so to speak. As part of the power boost she gets from a magical bird, Oriana gets the ability to do this like Phoenix form. That's probably not what I'm going to call it forever, but it's a working title for now. Anyway, with the Phoenix form, Ori gets these fire wings that she can use to fly. But part of the concept behind this attack was the idea that Ryuki might have a more intuitive grasp on how to fly, due to shapeshifting being a natural biological thing inherent to shapeshifters. I have no idea if this is actually true in Blue's world building, it's just the assumption I was building off of. Whereas Oriana has only gotten this power recently, and doesn't fully know how to use it yet. And, funny story, in the past, Blue has specifically compared Oriana to Twilight Sparkle. Not out of any malice, but just because they do legitimately have some similarities. Like the fact that they are both try-hard nerds, who pretty much revere a very powerful entity connected to the sun. And halfway through drawing this attack, I realized, wait, this is basically just newly Alicorn to Twilight learning how to fly with Rainbow Dash. Now, Ryuki doesn't have much in common with Rainbow Dash as far as I know, but the connection is still funny. Once again, this was the only attack I completed on this day. Not because I wasn't working on any, but because by this point I'd started working on some larger polished attacks for friends' birthdays that I'd tinker with slowly while also trying to get one finished attack out per day. And again, didn't receive any attacks, so moving on to... On day 8, I didn't technically do any attack drawing since it was a Friday and it was a break day, but I did post my first polish attack, which I'd finished the day prior. This was specifically a birthday gift for one of my D&D friends, Honeyshroom. I drew a little cuddle pile of the throuple within this D&D campaign, featuring Honeyshroom's character Sao, an angsty, broody, goth owl lady. It also includes 2 other characters from this D&D group, one of which belongs to a friend who goes by Jamrot on Artfight, and is a gnomish farm boy with some anger issues and a fuck ton of trauma. And the last character is Faye, whose player isn't on Artfight, but did give me permission to draw her here. These 3 characters were all in a love triangle in this campaign, and that love triangle ended like how all love triangles should end, polyamory. Going a bit deeper into the lore of these characters, Sao used to be a Grave Domain cleric, before we did a sort of soft reboot of the campaign, more on that later, whose family was devoted to and served a god, but one by one they died of illness until Sao was the only one left. Milam grew up with his adopted parents on a farm, but then at some point through events that I don't remember because this campaign has been ongoing for a couple years and I have a shitty memory, he became entangled in this battle between 2 very powerful entities and kinda used as a tool by both. I don't know, it's complicated. Welcome to D&D. And there's Faye, who is a changeling Circle of Stars druid who was adopted along with her brother by an archfey. So Faye had a very peaceful life in the Feywild prior to the start of the campaign. There were more characters too, of course, but they aren't relevant here, so we're moving on. The campaign started out as a Strixhaven campaign, taking place in a magic college setting with me as the DM. But after a while, we kinda got bored of the school setting and I got stressed from being the DM, so we decided to make some changes. Faye's player took on the mantle of DM, with Faye becoming a DMPC, and I became a player and actually threw in Raymond as a player character, since the team was mostly squishy spellcasters, and I felt a tank would be beneficial. Sao changed from a cleric to a wizard, and Milam went from a monk to a druid. Oh, and the new DM completely destroyed the school with a devastating attack from a mysterious foe. Man, that one session kicked our listless group into high gear and got us excited about the campaign for the first time in months. I love D&D. I could probably continue rambling, but they'd mostly be incoherent thoughts because I don't remember everything, and I'm terrible at taking notes. So I don't really know what else to say, honestly. And I didn't receive any attacks today either. Oh, day 9. The last day before I burnt out last year. All I had to do was not burn myself out on day 9 this year too, and I'd be golden. At the rate I was going, it should be easy to keep that momentum going, right? For this attack, I literally just hit the random character button until I found a character that caught my attention. And I found this lovely lady, Raksashi, belonging to Katamat. This character is tagged as being a Tekken OC, which I think is a sort of arcade-style fighting game, but I have no idea. I just wanted to practice drawing more muscular characters, so this seemed like the perfect opportunity for that. And if you've seen my own characters, you'll know how much I love humanoid characters with animal traits. Some of the images included on her profile included different states of transformation. I like there's the base fully human one, a one where she's mostly human but got a tiger head, and a couple chibi ones where she's got just a tiger ears and tail, and one of those have her hand becoming a tiger claw. I couldn't just pick one that I wanted to do, so I did a small variety here. All in all, I thought this one was fun to do. And on day 9, I got this revenge from Cryptic Boy. They drew Nestor and Frost dancing, and they're so cute. Cryptic Boy has such a whimsical style, and such nice rendering too. I just love this so much. On day 10, history began to repeat itself. It was starting to get very difficult to get myself to work on attacks by this point. It didn't help how I was getting more ambitious with the attacks I was working on, so they'd start taking longer. I did work on things at day 10, but I didn't get anything to post. I did receive an attack though. I got this very swift revenge from Catamat. And it looks so cool. Look at how they drew my son. The motion, the glowy effect on his eye, the grit the entire piece has. It's just so good. On day 11, I still didn't have any more finished attacks to post. But I did receive an onslaught of attacks on day 11. Firstly, I got an attack from Blue to continue our bench chain. Some very cute art of Raymond drawing Nestor. I don't know if I've ever actually mentioned it in a video, but Raymond does in fact canonically draw, and uses art as a means of expressing their emotions. And also, Blue is using some of the design updates I was playing around with for Raymond. I just think this is a super cute attack from Blue, and the way they're doing Nestor's face is so funny. Next attack I got was from my friend Jamrot, whose character was featured in the purple attack I did for Honeyshroom, making this a sort of revenge, even if it's not an official one, due to the fact that my attack wasn't directed at them. He drew my boy Nestor, which honestly makes perfect sense. I drew their blonde freckled country boy, they drew my blonde freckled country boy in retaliation. And the last attack I received on day 11 was this revenge from Addie. They are cheering Nestor on to try and make a move with Raymond. Oh, my boy, who is the most emotionally intelligent member of the main cast, and acts as a team therapist, and yet also manages to be a dumbass who can't tell that Raymond likes him back. Oh, how I love my stupid son. And so do a lot of people apparently, because Nestor sure was popular on day 7. 3 attacks in one day, the most I got on a single day basically ever, and they all featured Nestor. I have a point of that, it's just fun. On day 12, I continued my war with Blue, with an attack featuring Frost and Blue's character Citrine. Citrine goes to this magical girl school and has different forms based on the sky, which also correlate to different mindsets or something. At the very least, I know the night form was sort of to represent a sort of freedom from societal pressures and the need to mask neurodivergence. And I went, hey, you know who'd be down for a little rebellion? That's right, Frost. Frost is such a positive influence, encouraging values like independence and being able to think for yourself. And of course, I also saw the opportunity to slip in a little meme reference because, guess what? Frost doesn't know how to read. At least, he didn't in this code version. That has been changed because it didn't fit with the new direction I'm taking his character, but I digress. The fluidity of character development is so fun. This attack also kinda served as some pseudo-comic practice, just condensed into one frame. And I gotta say, I am very happy with how I drew Frost waving his hand. I don't know, it just felt so satisfying to look at when it was done. Didn't receive any more attacks on day 12, so moving on to... Okay, so nothing interesting happened on day 13 at all, but on day 14 I did receive a couple more attacks. The first was Blue's continuation of our revenge chain, this time providing a direct continuation of my attack. It's so fun depicting our characters interacting and being able to see them in action like this. I don't have that much more to say, I think you've heard me gush over Blue's art enough. So instead, let's gush over the art of the second attack I received on day 14. This one is a revenge from Honeyshroom, and they drew all my babies. It They were absolutely getting roasted by the heat and decided to inflict their suffering onto my characters. Something I wholeheartedly support. What is even the point of characters if you can't take out your issues on them? But also, the art is so good. I don't see Frost's little tongue sticking out, the little blab. Love this so much. So, we're starting to skip through more and more days now. Things were really slowing down by this point. Trying to get motivation to work on attacks was like pulling teeth. It wasn't even really that I was feeling creatively burnt out, I was just increasingly wanting to work on other things. And since I had met my goals I'd set at the beginning of the month, I didn't really have that strong drive propelling me forward. But I didn't want to just stop doing Artfight, so I needed something to get back momentum. So I drew another attack with my friend from the daily server, Eyes of the Holder, aka Eyes. This character's named Vivian, making her the second Vivian I drew this Artfight. She's described as a fully grown adult, ready for a Faustian bargain, and a former biomedical researcher for the anti-magic company Sector 11, who now wields fear-based magic, causing others psychosis related to their fears. Don't have much to say about her, honestly. I did play a bit with having black shading, since I thought it might fit the vibe. But this really was just a simple attack to try and pick the drawing momentum back up. I did also receive an attack on day 17. Beep Bap Skid Bap drew this attack of TTAU Leo. Now, those who are familiar with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and especially Rise of the TMNT, will know this isn't actually an original character. This is a character from an existing property. But specifically, this is Leo from my Rise of the TMNT and D&D crossover AU, which is called Tabletop Turtles AU, aka TTAU. Not gonna lie, I haven't thought about this project in a long while. So it was surprising to have a reminder that it exists. But since then, I've been thinking a bit more about TTAU. I even have a couple ideas for it circling in my head. Maybe I will delve deeper into that AU in a future video. Give it a fresh coat of paint. On day 18, I was mostly working on another pause attack and didn't get anything finished. But I did receive another attack. Got this little drawing from Masker of my Sona drawing Raymond and Nestor. Raymond and Nestor are kinda hard to make out, but using the pencil to create a 3D effect is honestly so clever, I really love it. And I also love it when people change up Tato's bow. The blue and purple gradient may be the default, but one key aspect of the design is that the bow can look like basically anything. So it's always fun to see people utilizing that. On day 19, I made my second pulse attack of the year for my friend IDK I'm Just Here Now, aka K. Like my other pulse attack, this was for K's birthday, although it was a bit late. But you know what they say, better late than never. These characters I drew are from K's Rise of the TMNT AU, Mirror Maze. That AU is based on the lore in Rise that never properly made it into the actual show, that there were two additional mutant turtles who are siblings to the main four. This AU takes that concept and takes it a step further by giving the TMNT four sisters. And these sisters all raised by one of the villains in Rise, Big Mama, who is a manipulative spider lady who runs this arena called the Battle Nexus. I don't fully know all the lore, since Kay was making a fan comic about it, but then got more fixated on other projects, which is a mood and a half. But I believe the four girls are all named after characters from other TMNT properties, particularly the comics. Starting from the left, we've got Lita, who acts as an assassin for Big Mama, used for more quiet, precise jobs. As such, she is very skilled at stealth, mystics, and poisons, and favors long-range weapons like kunai and shurikens. She is very quiet and observant, and has the mystic ability to mimic any voice she hears. To speak, she will usually either use a form of sign language or use someone else's voice. In the middle left is Venus, who is the reigning champion in the Battle Nexus. She prefers to fight with either brute strength or with more delicate weapons, like the Tessin. Phoenix mostly keeps to herself outside of combat, being very calm, quiet, and cautious. And she enjoys making jewelry out of any stray beads or feathers she finds. And I know all the girls have mystic powers, but Lita's is the only one mentioned in the character profile, and I can't remember what the rest of their abilities are. In the middle right of the lineup is Jenica, who also takes on the role of Big Mama's assistant, which is an actual character from the show, who I think was confirmed to be one of the lost Turtle siblings in a Rise comic, but I'm pretty sure this AU was made before that comic came out, and I don't know if Kay took much influence from that. But I did base her attire on the assistant from the show to further allude to that role. Aside from being Big Mama's assistant, Mirror Maze Jenica is also a part-time Nexus fighter, and primarily fights using a single katana. Her personality is described as being outgoing and snarky, using tactics she picked up from Big Mama to manipulate people in order to learn what she wants. And on the far right is Artemisia, who, like Lita, is an assassin, primarily using the Naginata. Artemisia is described as being imaginative and goofy outside of being an assassin, with a sharp ear for gossip and ability to keep a secret. This attack was definitely complicated to do for several reasons, not least being that the references included in Artfight are actually outdated. Luckily, Blue was able to help me with that, since they'd helped Kay redesign the Mirror Maze girls a while ago, and was able to provide me some of the images without me needing to contact Kay and ruin the birthday surprise. With this piece, I also wanted to try playing with a darker territory. I also experimented with a worm's eye view angle, and oh my god, did that give me trouble. I'm mostly happy with how it turned out. The blood looks maybe a bit more cartoonish than I was going for, but it is what it is, I guess. Spider webs are fun to draw though, but man, did this attack really take it out of me. On day 20, I got out this quick revenge for Beep Bap Skip Bap. I do the OC Titan, I don't know, I don't give names. Let's just go with Titan for now. Titan is Beep Bap Skip Bap's TMNT OC, which I thought very fitting since Beep Bap Skip Bap drew my turtle character, so I drew their character in retaliation. He sort of took on two other characters, both also being Beep Bap Skip Bap's TMNT OCs, and sort of became like an older brother figure to them, to my understanding. And then he tried to pull the same thing with the fourth character, Favre. I'm absolutely not pronouncing that name right, but we ball. But then Favre played a new reverse card and was like, no, I'm adopting you. Which makes sense, since Favre is like a decade older than Titan. So it's honestly hilarious that Titan thought he could adopt Favre. Then again, the self-proclaimed server dad in the Jelly server is the youngest of all of us, so yeah. Admittedly, I didn't look at most of this lore until after I finished drawing the attack. Maybe then I would have done something more interesting, but at the same time, I just wanted something simple. I have a bad habit of getting overambitious. So, speaking of overambitious, this attack took 2 whole days, and is a full-fledged comic page, because I apparently like making things hard on myself. This is another continuation of my revenge chain on Blue, this time featuring their character Lucas, interacting with my character Nestor. Anyone else talk a little bit about Lucas? He's like half robot, but the robotic bits are mostly on the inside. Blue sometimes draws him with a cable plug tail, though not always. So if this is all a bit vague, like me, Blue is constantly coming up with new ideas and reworking old ones. So keeping track of what is currently canon can be difficult sometimes. Which absolutely is not a knock on Blue. I am the same way. I can barely keep my own lore straight. And it's also probably due for another big video update, because there were some changes. But back on topic, it was the connection to technology that made me want to pair him with Nestor. The first panel was actually inspired by a suggestion from Blue, telling me that I should draw a Lucas showing Nestor how cell phones work, since he wouldn't be familiar with modern technology. And I liked the idea. But at the same time, I want Nesta to be able to actually contribute more. Maybe that was just me wanting to be self-indulgent, but whatever. I needed a treat to try and revive my excitement for Artfight, okay? And, this was a good practice in making comics. I've been trying to get myself to practice comics, but I also managed to convince myself that I just don't have time for it. So this was a good excuse to slip in some of that practice, and also show off some world building. I may make a video later talking about the world story will take place in, but for now, I need to get that lore into a coherent state, so I'm not just yapping nonsensically. But I do love Blue's ideas, and they've inspired some ideas that I'm incorporating into my own story, and I can't wait to see what Blue does for this life we call home, in whatever form it will take. Anyway, with that very self-indulgent attack out of the way, I'm on track to getting even more attacks done, right? I'm going to get more attacks done, right? Right? So yeah. I fell off the Artfight train hard. Didn't even get an attack done on day 30 either, I just received an attack. And said attack is his revenge attack of Frost by Ashbond Kitty. Look at him. He's so cute. I will admit, after I attacked Ashbond Kitty on day 1, I was kind of hoping she'd revenge attack back. Which, I know, I already said you shouldn't expect revenges from people. But there is a difference between expecting something and hoping for something. And after a week passed, I had pretty much accepted that I would be getting an attack from Ashbond Kitty. So this was a very pleasant surprise. I just want to squeeze him like a stress toy. Last day. I figured I'd try to get at least one attack in, particularly since Samaska was the only person I hadn't revenged, and now it's kind of hanging over me. And, my overambition really bit me in the ass here. I probably could have drawn another bust shot of a single character, which I might have been able to actually finish. But no, that sounded too boring, so my brain refused to do that. Instead, I wanted to draw a full scene with all 4 members of this band playing at like a restaurant or a bar or something. But as a result of my hubris, I only had the time and spoons to get a rough sketch done. Which is a shame, because these character designs are really fun. Maybe next year I'll try to redeem myself and draw these guys again, but properly this time. So, that was Artfight 2025. This video was such a bitch to do that here I am at the tail end of the month pushing to get this video out on time once again. Didn't help how YouTube had to go and be all stupid, making me question whether making this video was even worth it in the first place, and thus killing my motivation to do it. But Blue really wanted me to finish the video, so here we go. And hey, with the long wait time, the winning team was finally announced. Team Crystals won by only about roughly 45,000 points. Which, out of context, sounds like a massive lead, but considering both teams had nearly 104 million points each, that's really fucking close. No wonder it took the staff so long to properly count and check all the points. Last year I was on Team Seafoam, and we got curb stomped so hard it wasn't even a competition. From what I've heard, that's pretty much the norm for Artfight. And as funny as it would have been to lose a second year in a row, I'll take the win. Not that I care that much about winning or losing, it's just a fun bonus. I did accomplish the goal I set out for of doing better than last year, so that's the win I really care about, if I'm being honest. I did have some areas I wasn't too satisfied with, but there's always next year for that. I never got to drawing the last pairing I had planned for the revenge chain between me and Blue, since we both ran out of spoons by then. So next year, I'm definitely going to draw Raymond and Blue's character Anala. Also, I want to take another crack at drawing some Masco's characters, and actually finish it this time. But until then, that'll be it for this Artfight. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider leaving a like or a comment, and maybe subscribe if you want to stay tuned for future videos. I've been tinkering a lot with my own characters, and an updated video on them is definitely due. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time.